All right, Giannis, you okay if I get started?
Yeah, I think so. The rest will have to catch up with us.
I'll admit as we go. Welcome everyone to this Ask Us Anything for the forthcoming Circular Economy Principles and Applications course. We're doing this in conjunction with TerraDo, which is the largest online climate action school, which we'll discuss a little bit more later. But today, I guess just kind of high level what to expect. We'll walk you through what to expect in the course. We'll give a preview of some of the content in the course, and we'll also, we want to kind of open it up for discussion and just have this be conversational, but we'll also leave a lot of time at the end for question and answers. But yeah, in terms of what we'll be talking about, it'll be who we are, the course creators, how the course works, what some potential outcomes are of the course, and then on the circular economy side, why now is the time for this course and for circular economy, some challenges to the circular economy, as well as the potentials. But quick background on us. I'm Austin. I'm I like to say recovering ad tech entrepreneur. I spent 10 years in the advertising and marketing tech space where I scaled and sold a startup, but I'm currently now working at the Urban Future Lab, which is New York City's longest running climate tech incubator, where I support climate tech and circular economy focused startups. I'm also the co-president of the New York Techstars chapter, which is Techstars' largest city hub. I get excited by areas where innovation meets positive impact on the world, which is initially what drew my interest into the circular economy. And this is my co-creator, Giannis.
Hello, I'm Giannis. I'm a product designer by trade. I learned pretty quickly that I didn't want to design any more products, basically. So I went into research, and now I'm doing a lot of material research, and I run a circular design studio where we do material research for companies and bigger corporations and help them with design strategies and rapid prototyping strategies to basically create something from materials that they didn't use before.
Oh, yeah, if you could do a taker, yeah, that'd be great.
If everybody can go on mute if possible, that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and unless you want to ask a question, then of course feel free to unmute yourself. Yeah, so I'm really interested in how we can create products for the circular economy. I'm really driven by these circular design principles, and yeah, but I also have a pretty big focus on materials in general. So should we talk about the program a little bit, Austin?
Yeah, let's do it. So the program, if you're familiar with Terra, it's similar to how other Terra courses work, but it's a 6 week online fellowship. We wouldn't ask 6 months of you. The content it's asymmetrical learning. So the classes are released every week, but it's static content. So it allows you to learn on your own time. There's live interaction with experts. We've got, I think, 6 guest talks and panels scheduled already, as well as 2 workshops. And there's Q&A in each of those sessions. It's peer-to-peer learning and collaborative. So both Giannis and I are fellows that went through Terra's climate school. And the best part, I think, of this type of learning is you're learning with other professionals who are also trying to accelerate their careers in a circular direction. So we have weekly discussion groups as well as a whole Slack community, and then tangible outcomes. So this course is designed to, by the end, give you your own personal circular toolbox, as well as an action plan about how you can implement circularity or circular principles into your profession. Yeah, Giannis, anything I missed on that?
Cool. No, I think just to maybe expand on the last point a little bit, I think for most of us, the circular economy is a concept that we've talked about a lot already, but it's still, a lot of it is still pretty cutting edge. So what we'll try to help you with is to develop actually what circularity means in your context, and to gather the tools that help you in your context specifically, because there are tools out there, but they don't all work for everyone. So we'll help you sort that, and we'll help you to basically make something that you can take right after the course into your professional context and start working on circularity there. Cool. So I guess I'll do a bit of an intro now into why we think we actually have to focus on the economy a bit more, and give you a bit of an insight into what the circular economy means and what the linear economy at the moment also means. So first of all, we all have seen images like this. And for us, doing this with Terra.do, it's actually really important to also focus on the climate change side of this. So we are in a climate emergency at the moment. And as you can see on the left, the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is higher than it's ever been before. So the graph on the left is actually kind of interesting. It's the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere over the last 800,000 years. And the carbon dioxide is a really important measure to look at, because it's a greenhouse gas, which eventually leads to the atmosphere of the planet warming. And that it's warming, we can also see. So here on the left, you see a graph of the global temperature variations over the last 2020 years. And you can see that we are already above 1 degree warmer than in the beginning of the industrial era. And we are currently, I think, at 1.1 degrees. And with these greenhouse gases, it's also important to question where they come from. And as you can see in the graph here on the left, these greenhouse gas emissions really started skyrocketing with the Industrial Revolution. And you can see how they really went up over the last 70 years with the introduction of heavy use of fossil fuels. But also it's important to think about where these greenhouse gas emissions come from, like what do we emit them for? And this is a graph that breaks that up into the different sectors. And maybe to make this a bit more interactive, does anyone want to describe what they see on the left to us? So if you want to just unmute yourself and step in. Okay, maybe it's, I don't know what time it is for everyone. Maybe it's not the time of day that you want to talk. That's also fine. I can also just present this. But in general, feel free to also write questions in the chat. Austin has an eye on this and will let me know if you want me to stop anywhere and explain something further or answer a question. So basically what you see on the left is that we use the majority, that we emit the majority of greenhouse gases to produce energy. And then the second biggest use is for agriculture, forestry, and land use changes. But if you take this, if you zoom in a bit on this, it becomes really interesting. And then you get a graph like this, which is a very, I always call it the spaghetti graph. It's a graph that's a bit complex, but it's really interesting. And it's really interesting for our context of talking about the economy. Because in this graph, you see on the very left, you can see the greenhouse gas emissions that we emit in total. So this is, I think this is a number from 2019. So this was 59 gigatons of greenhouse gases. And then you see the different resources in different colors. So you can see fossil fuel in blue and biomass in green. And you can see how they actually, biomass and fossil fuel basically make up almost all of the greenhouse gas emissions. And as you read from left to right, you can see how these greenhouse gas emissions basically go through the economy. So you can see how we turn these resources, so fossil fuels, minerals, ores, biomass, and waste, into products. And the interesting thing here is to see in the processing stage, here's the 70%, all the little thunderbolts, that's the energy that we produce. So a lot of the greenhouse gas emissions in the beginning are produced to produce energy. But as you go through the process of making products, a lot of this energy gets used to actually make products. So in the stage where we use the products that we've created, so we use the buildings and the cars and the phones and all of these things, now 70% of the greenhouse gas emissions are actually embodied in products. And that's where it really gets really interesting for us, because then if we prolong the life cycle of these products or find systems to keep these products in use for longer, then we can actually save a lot of greenhouse gas emissions in the future. So if you look at this from a different perspective and just look at the materials themselves, you can see on the left here how we basically only cycle 8.6% of all the materials in the economy at the moment. This is a number from an organization called Circle Economy, who do a circularity gap report every year. And they basically just measure the materials that we put into the economy and then divide them by the number of materials that we use to, that we reuse within the economy, that recycle that. And they find that we only cycle 8.6% at the moment back into the economy. And a lot of the materials get lost to the environment or end up as waste in the landfill. And that also correlates with other numbers that we have on recycling. So this is, on the left, you see a graph for global plastic production and where the plastic actually went. And if you follow all the plastic that has been created so far, you can see that we only recycled 1.2% of these. We only recycled 6%, but only 1.2% of these materials are still in use. So most of the materials ended up in landfill. That looks like this. This is the biggest landfill in the world in Ghazipur in India. Or they end up in the environment and pollute the planet. And in the US alone, for example, 1 to 1.2 million tons of plastic waste go astray every year, and that leads to plastic pollution being basically everywhere all over the globe. And but struggling with recycling also leads to an increase in virgin material use and an increase in material scarcity. So we are actually starting to run low on materials right now, and sand is just one basic material that we are actually starting to struggle to have enough of. And the graph on the left shows very visual how that works on the planet. So by now, the day that we have used up all of the resources of the planet is July 29th, so actually exactly in 1 month, and it's getting earlier and earlier every day. So if we wanted to live sustainably like this, we would need 1.7 planet Earths to provide us with new resources every year. And that's where the circular economy comes in, because if we reuse materials, if we circulate materials more, we can actually change this. So for everyone who doesn't know the circular economy principles, we'll of course cover all of this in the course, very detailed, but here's it in a nutshell. So the circular economy is all about keeping materials and products in use. And there are different circles that we can use for that. So we can maintain products and we can repair products, we can share products, we can reuse products and sell them through platforms. We can remanufacture them, which basically means to clean the products up and reset them so that they are like new, or we can recycle them. But the important thing to always know is the smaller the cycle, the better for us within the economy. And that actually has huge potential to reduce the material footprint and the greenhouse gas footprint. So as you can see on the left, in red, you can see the greenhouse gas emissions, and the little dotted lines show the trajectories. So this line that goes up here, this is the one that we are on right now. And this one is the one that all of the countries that agreed to the Paris Agreement, if they would hold all of their promises, which I think almost none of them are on track to do, then we would end up here. So this would be between 2 and 3 degrees warming. And if we introduce circularity principles on top of these NDCs, then we would actually get to a much lower point, and we could end up around 1.8 degrees warming, which is well below 2 degrees, which would be within the Paris Agreement. And also in blue, you can see how that would influence the way that we use materials. So just by doubling the amount of materials that we circulate within the economy, so getting it up to 17 instead of 8.6%, we would could reduce the virgin material use a lot. And that also has a lot of financial potential, as you can probably imagine, because if you save materials, you also save a lot of cost. So the World Economic Forum calculated that just in the fast-moving consumer goods industry, you could already save $700 billion annually. And if you project that onto the EU, in the medium lift complex products industry, so that's like cars and furniture and this kind of stuff, this could actually save the amount of money, which is around 4% of the EU's GDP. That's like 520 to 630 billion US. And for agriculture, there's also a lot of potential in the circular, in principles of circularity, because if we cycle nutrients back into the ground, we can save some of the up to 40 billion US in land degradation costs, which actually over time have proven to drive down land productivity a lot. So there's a lot to uncover and a lot of potential within the circular economy. And we'll cover most of this in the course. And we'll discuss all of this, and we'll find out which, for your context, are the most important parts to follow, and what are the strategies that already work and what don't work. But we'll now discuss a bit more the weeks also and the way that we'll do that. And I'll hand it back to Austin for that.
Yeah, perfect segue. I just wanted to acknowledge Max asked a question in the chat about whether or not we'd be covering how finance can contribute to the circular economy. The answer is yes, but let me just, I guess, kind of go through the full list of classes now. So we have 6 weeks for the course and 8 classes. So it's usually 1 week, one class announced, released per week, but sometimes there are 2 classes in 1 week, depending on kind of the content load. We have 6 guest talks lined up and 2 workshops and plenty of case studies. Our first class is the basics. What is the circular economy? Understanding the basic principles, where it comes from, why it is important for the future of the planet and the economy. So far, some of these guest speakers are still coming together, but so far we have Michelle Tulloch from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation lined up. She runs local and global programs for EMF. And if you know anything about EMF, Ellen MacArthur Foundation, they're probably the biggest foundation entirely focused on circular economy. So that's going to be a great talk.
Yeah. And while the first class is kind of for everyone to get on the same ground and also introduce the same vocabulary, so it's easier for us to speak. The second class is a short excursus into systems thinking, because when we talk about the economy, nowadays the economy is very complex. And a lot of the issues that we face with the circular economy or with value chains or material flows are very complex. And there are actually really interesting strategies and frameworks from systems thinkers that we can use to address that. So we'll look at these, and we're really happy to have Morgan Williams from Melt Studios in Australia, who are an amazing systems thinking design studio, to actually take us through one of these frameworks and look at basically how we can introduce those frameworks to our context. And they will really help us to kind of find the levers that really work on these complex problems that we face within the economy. And then in week 3, we do another workshop, and we look in the class content, we look at how to design products to enable them to flow through these circles of the circular economy, and what we can do to make them work really well for us and for the planet. And within that workshop, we will look at how to design services and how to be empathetic, how to get a lot of insights from other people. And we'll do that with Elise Mutali, who's an amazing service designer and a real circular economy enthusiast. Which then leads us to week 4.
Yeah, week 4. So week 4, we're going to have 2 classes. The first is about circular business models. The second is financing the circular economy. But the first class will, we'll discuss everything that goes into how to create a circular business, different possibilities for circular ventures. And the second half, which I'll talk about in a second, we'll talk more about the investing in the circular economy and how to kind of finance the circular economy, whether that's different places in the capital stack, different financial incentives, et cetera. But the first part of that week, we're going to have a talk from Jean Hamicki, who's the founder and CEO of MyTurn. MyTurn is a circular software platform that allows companies, businesses, college campuses, governments to essentially adopt a model of reuse and sharing, as opposed to kind of buying, using it, and wasting it. He has a really inspirational stories, bootstrapped the entire company, and he'll be walking us through how to either design a circular business from the start, or kind of how to adopt some existing business models and make them more circular. And then the second half will be of that week will be more focused on the financial aspect. And the panel that we have planned for that, it's still coming together, but so far it's going to be either entrepreneurs, operators in companies mixed with people from the investment community. So far we have Simran Suri, who's from Equal Ventures, who focuses, their investments focus on retail supply chain and circularity, as well as Ilya Stahl, who's the co-founder and CEO of Hylos, which is a circular shoe company. We have 2 more people that will be added to that, one hopefully confirmed soon from one of the more well-known circular investment funds.
Nice. And then in week 5, we do 2 classes again. And one of them is looking at how do policy and regulators enable the circular economy. So why is the circular economy in some places already accelerating a lot and building really fast, and in other places not yet? And what can those who work in the frameworks, so policymakers or people who work in government or activist groups, what can they do to actually help the circular economy and these companies that we discussed the week before? And then the second class is on measuring circularity. So this is all about how do we actually measure how circular a product is or how sustainable a product is. Because for us, it's really important that this is not just a sustainable, or sustainability only works together with social sustainability and justice. And yeah, it needs to be really set within the community as well. And we will look at all of the tools and the certifications that are out there at the moment. And the guest speaker is already lined up, but it's not, we can't announce it yet. We have to wait a few more days for this. And then the last week is to really come back to focusing on how each of us who's in the class can now start implementing this into your own life. So this means your work context, but we'll also look at what you can do in your private life, who politicians you can nudge to push a bit more for circularity, but also, yeah, what you can do in your household and these kinds of things. And we are super stoked to have Oakley Jennings Fast for that, who's a great podcast host, but also a amazing bioengineer who's worked in the chemical industry for a long time and who's turned circular after that experience, and who is really focused on this. How can we implement circularity in our lives, and who's gonna give us a great insight in that. And also that last week is all about the final assignments, and you will present your action plan that you worked on for the 6 weeks and your toolbox, and we will discuss these in our discussion groups and really help us develop a plan that we can stick to and that we can start working on right after this course. And I think that's it from us. Now, I guess it was called Ask Us Anything, so we'll finally start talking and let you ask us questions. And otherwise, if you want to talk in a more private setting, or if you are wondering whether this course is really for you, we're also happy to jump on calls with any of you. So just shoot us an email and we'll set that up. So any questions?
Is this our first time offering this course? Yes, it's the first cohort of the circular economy course, or it's not the first Terra course. Terra is in the process of expanding, and one of the courses they've expanded into is circular economy. Thank you for that question, Delaney. Giannis, you want to take that one? Can you see the chat? I can't remember if you're in presenter mode.
Are the slides available? Yes, we can make the slides available. How do we do this? Should we
So we're definitely making the recording available. And then I think that email will obviously go out to everybody here, but in that, I think we could just send a link to the deck. But,
yeah.
Yeah. The answer is yes. We'll figure out how, but we'll make sure you get it.
Hey, this is John. I'm wondering if anything in this course has overlap with the concept of bioeconomy, or using renewable resources in these kinds of processes, specifically replacing petroleum-based ingredients, for lack of a better term, with something that could be made biologically.
Yes, I also, from my other work, I have a big background in the bioeconomy, and I think we do cover that. The graph of the circular economy that I showed, because I tried to get one that is really very minimal, kind of skipped that, but I don't know if you know the butterfly diagram, and there's a lot about the bioeconomy in there, and we also discussed these principles, yes.
Okay.
Even though we do have, I'd say we do focus a bit more on the reuse and remanufacturing side in the product design part, because that's actually, as you saw in the slides about the greenhouse gases and the sustainability of our economy, that has a lot of potential to actually save a lot of greenhouse gases. And it's also sometimes, I feel like, the overlooked low-hanging fruit within the circular economy, this like circulating products for longer. And yeah, but we'll definitely discuss this in the class. And there's also, so all of our classes are built in a way that offer you like different tracks to go off on your own if you want to. And we will facilitate this in your assignments, and yeah, I'll help you figure it out. So this is definitely something that you can explore within this course. Yes.
Awesome, thank
you. Giannis, there's one question on here from Emily. Is the goal of the class to create an offshoot for circular economy work or a circular economy startup? Do you want to answer that? I'm happy to.
What can you specify offshoot for me for a moment? Or Austin, can you?
Oh, I interpret that as, you know, are you applying the circular economy to your own work, or kind of transitioning your own work into circular economy, or is it more entrepreneurial, more starting something up? Emily, correct me if I'm misinterpreting that.
Yeah, I'll chime in. Is this meant to be a vehicle to, you know, more than just learning, but to also actively engage in circular economy work, either through a job, creating a new job? I mean, Austin, you're already working in that realm. Is it to then like facilitate startups? You know, is it to facilitate the market transition to a circular economy? I think it's probably all of the above. But I just wanted to ask if it was based on action versus just learning.
That's perfectly phrased. Yes, it is. So we always say we focus on the do in Terra.do in this course. So yeah, for us, it's really important to give you something that is actionable, because there are, like, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation produces amazing resources on the circular economy, yet they are a resource foundation. So a lot of it kind of is really interesting, but it gets a bit, it's research. And we try to really give you an insight on how to apply this. And to answer the question, I think it's kind of both. If you want to create a circular economy startup, we will help you help you with that process and help you figure these things out. So in the business model class, you actually get to create a business model if you want to, and work on that. And we also have people lined up who are more from guest speakers who are more from the this like startup and accelerator side. So there's probably some overlap that you can get there as well. But also, if you want to implement this into your work, or even if you want to transition into a job that, like Austin described, like if you want to turn onto your old job a little bit and transition to a new job that's more in the circular economy, will help you figure that out and see what actually where you want to go. So the course is really it has a lot of tracks that you can go down on, and we'll help you with that. But we are very focused on the actionable part.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then we've got a question here from Delaney. I see it begins on July 15th. When is the deadline to apply and accept? So the deadline to apply is the 15th. The first course, so that the first few days is actually more orientation, getting you used to the learning platform that we use at Terra, which doesn't take long, but it's just kind of making sure all the admin stuff is taken care of. The first course is released on the 19th. So deadline to apply is July 15th.
Yeah, so you can wait till the last minute. We're happy if you don't, because then we can help you. Yeah, we can have conversations if you want to about the reasons why you want to take the course and whether it makes sense. But yeah, you can wait until the 15th.
And just to, I guess, go back a question, I think the focus on action, both Giannis and I were, I think, frustrated with what we saw in the market. And so our goal with this was really to make sure you can implement these principles in whatever your professional context is, which is no small feat, but that's the number one goal of this course, is to make sure you can take action. All right, any other questions?
No.
All right, well, yeah, thank you all very much. Again, we'll have this recording and we'll figure out a way to get you the slides, but please send us any emails if you have any follow-up questions. Our emails are on the screen and we're happy to answer those and help you along the way. Giannis, any closing words? I feel like you're better at this than
I. Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, as someone just said in the chat, everyone stay well. And I'm really looking forward to going through this course with as many people as possible and really like getting to work within the circular economy. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And shoot us an email or set up a call with us. And I hope to see you soon.
All right. Gonna stop recording. Take care, everyone.
Yeah. Goodbye.